out my sister got married the way you find out you've been replaced. Casually, publicly, and on purpose. I texted her that morning. Nothing dramatic, just, "Hey, did you guys ever pick a date?" I was making coffee, half thinking about deadlines, half thinking about how she'd been weirdly quiet for weeks. She replied in less than a minute. "We got married yesterday." Then another message came in right after, like she couldn't wait to twist it. "Just for special people." I stared at my phone until the screen dimmed. My throat tightened. That slow squeeze that happens when you realize you're not hurt by an accident. You're hurt by a decision. I called her anyway. Not to beg, not to fight, just to hear her tone, to confirm whether I'd misread it. She answered on speaker like she had an audience. "Oh," she said brightly. "I think you saw it." "I asked about the date," I replied, keeping my voice levelly. "You could have told me." She made a little sound, half laugh, half sigh, like I was being needy. "I made the guest list," she said, proud. "You weren't on it." Then she paused, long enough for it to land. "Special people only." I didn't ask her what I was if not family. I didn't ask her why. I learned the hard way that asking my sister why only gives her more space to perform. So I said, "Okay." And I hung up before she could hear my breathing change. 10 minutes later, the family group chat lit up like a slot machine. Photo after photo after photo. Her in white, or her new husband grinning. A champagne tower. A row of smiling faces I recognized. Cousins who'd borrowed money from me and never paid it back. The uncles who called me responsible, like it was a compliment and a leash. Someone wrote, "So beautiful." Someone else, "Intimate and classy." My sister posted a selfie with a caption that felt like it was aimed directly at my face. "Special people only." I sat at my kitchen table, coffee cooling, and I let myself feel it in small, controlled doses. The humiliation, the anger, the old familiar sensation of being the only person in the family who could be used without being loved. Because here's the part none of them like to say out loud. I was the oldest, and I was the one who ended up with most of Grandpa's inheritance. Not because I was greedy, because I was the one who stayed. When my grandfather's health started slipping, everyone else had a reason they couldn't visit. They were busy, they were overwhelmed, they had their own lives. I was the one who learned his medications, sat through the appointments, paid the bills when the confusion hit, and fought off the helpful relatives who suddenly cared the moment they smelled money. When he passed, he left my siblings something. He left me the responsibility. I became the executor. I became the boring one. The one who made spreadsheets, the one who said no. The one who could be blamed for every disappointment and still be expected to cover rent. So when my sister excluded me from her wedding, I understood exactly what she was doing. She wasn't cutting me out because she didn't need me. She was cutting me out because she didn't want me to see what she was spending. A week went by. I didn't confront her. I didn't post cryptic quotes. I didn't call relatives to recruit sympathy. I went to work. I attended meetings. I paid the bills I always paid. I kept the family peace the way I always kept it, with my silence and my money. Then on a Tuesday morning my phone rang. My sister. I stared at her name for a beat before answering, already knowing this wasn't an apology. "Hey," she said, voice light, like we were friends. "Rent's overdue." I said nothing. She kept going, faster now. "Did he send it like always? Because the landlord emailed me and I'm not dealing with this stress right now. I literally just got married." The audacity was so clean it almost impressed me. I turned my chair slightly toward my desk window, watching cars move below like everything in the world was normal. "I didn't get anything from the landlord," I said. She scoffed. "Well, I did, and it's embarrassing, so can you just send it? Hi today." Her tone had that familiar edge. She wasn't asking, she was collecting. I opened my laptop not because I believed her but because I needed the record. I logged into the property portal for the unit she lived in. The lease wasn't in her name. It was in my. It had to be. 2 years ago she'd begged me to co-sign because she couldn't deal with credit checks. I'd agreed, like an idiot, because my grandfather's last voice in my ear had been, "Take care of them when I'm gone." I clicked the payment history. Paid, paid, paid. Then I saw it. This month's payment? Rejected. Not because of insufficient funds, not because I'd missed it. Rejected because the payment destination had been changed. I leaned closer, eyes scanning the details. There was a tiny note next to the rejection line. Had the kind of administrative note most people never notice. ACH routing updated. Authorization pending. Authorization pending. My sister's voice was still in my ear. "Hello, are you there?" "Yes," I said, calm. "Who told you it was overdue?" "The landlord," she snapped. "I literally said that." "I'm looking at the portal," I replied, still controlled. The payment didn't go through because someone updated the routing. There was a half second of silence on the line. Then she laughed, too quick. "Oh my God, Elena. It's probably just a system thing. Stop making everything weird." System thing. That was her favorite phrase when she didn't want me to look too closely. I clicked into the audit tab. The little icon shaped like a clock. It opened a log, and my stomach dropped. Because it didn't say the routing was changed by property management. It said it was changed by an authorized payer, added to the account. Added yesterday. At a time stamped down to the minute. I didn't speak yet, I just scrolled. My sister's voice turned sharp. "Are you seriously doing this right now? I'm asking for one thing. You're always like this, cold, controlling, acting like you own everyone." I didn't correct her, I didn't argue. I just asked very quietly, "Why were you in my account yesterday?" "What?" she snapped. I stared at the log line, reading it once more to make sure my eyes weren't lying. Authorized payer added, request submitted, pending verification. And next to it, a name. Not mine. Hers. I felt my pulse hit hard once, then settle into something steady and heavy. It's the kind of calm that only shows up when the threat becomes clear. My sister tried to laugh again. "Elena, you're being dramatic. Just send the rent. Don't make this a thing." I looked at the audit log and clicked the detail arrow. A new window opened with the verification method. It wasn't an email to me. It wasn't a text to me. It was a printed verification letter, sent to an address that wasn't mine. An address I recognized immediately. A mailbox store 5 minutes from my office. My sister's voice kept pushing. "You know what? Fine. If you don't send it, I'll tell everyone you're punishing me because I didn't invite you. I'll tell them you're jealous. I'll tell them." "I didn't forget to pay your rent," I interrupted softly. She went quiet. She went. I stared at the screen and said the sentence I'd been holding back since she smirked, "Special people only?" "I told you," I continued, "that if you ever tried to touch anything tied to Grandpa's money, or my accounts again, I'd stop being quiet." She inhaled sharply. "You can't prove anything." I didn't answer her, because I was already looking at the line that proved she'd done more than complain about rent. She'd tried to reroute my payment. And the portal showed exactly where she wanted it to go. I didn't call my sister back. I didn't text her either, even though my thumb hovered over her name, like muscle memory wanted to start the same old cycle. Me begging for clarity. Her feeding me humiliation. Everyone else watching like it was entertainment. Instead, I printed the audit log. Then I drove straight to the property management office. And the building sat behind a row of manicured shrubs and a sign with cheerful lettering that promised community. Inside it smelled like lemon cleaner and cheap air freshener. A bowl of mints on the counter. A framed photo of the pool. A security camera in the corner with its tiny green light blinking like a heartbeat. I walked up to the reception desk and said, "I'm the leaseholder for Unit 310. I need to speak to someone about unauthorized changes to the payment routing." The receptionist blinked, fingers already moving toward her keyboard. "Name?" "Elena," I said, keeping it simple. "Elena Moreno." She typed, frowned, and glanced at her monitor like it had just insulted her. "That account is Flagged, she said carefully. Flagged how? I asked. She didn't answer that. She stood. One moment. I'll get the manager. I waited with my folder hugged against my ribs, listening to the office hum, printers, phones, muted conversations. Behind a glass wall, someone in a blazer argued quietly with a tenant about a late fee. Normal problems. Safe problems. Then a man came out from the back office. Mid-40s, neat haircut, laminated badge clipped to his belt. Oh, he didn't smile like customer service. He smiled like someone who'd already read the notes. Ms. Moreno, he said. I'm Victor. Come with me. His office door closed with a soft click that sounded like privacy becoming policy. He gestured to a chair and sat opposite me, pulling up my account on his screen. I'll be direct, Victor said. Your resident portal shows an attempted change to the payment destination and an attempted addition of an authorized payer. That's why the system rejected the rent. I nodded once. It says the routing was updated and authorization is pending, I said. The authorized payer was added yesterday. Victor's eyes narrowed. You saw the audit tab. Yes, I said. He exhaled slowly like he respected that. Good, because most people don't. And that's how these situations happen. He clicked twice and turned his monitor slightly toward me. On the screen was a log. Exactly what I'd seen at home, but with more detail. Authorized payer add request, submitted, pending verification requested by Kelsey Moreno Lane timestamp, yesterday 4:58 p.m. method, mail, verification letter, verification address, PMD box, mailbox store address. My stomach tightened at the name. Kelsey had been my sister's first name since she was born. And Moreno Lane was new, her married name, the one she was suddenly proud of. Like changing her last name could change her character. Victor pointed to the verification address. This is not your address on file, he said. No, I replied. That's a mailbox store. Victor's mouth tightened. And that's a red flag. He clicked into routing update, and a new window opened with the destination fields. I leaned in. It wasn't a landlord account. It wasn't a corporate payment processor. It was a personal checking account. New destination account holder, Kelsey Moreno Lane Institution, Harbor Ridge Bank account type, personal checking. For a second my chest went hollow. She hadn't been trying to fix the rent. She'd been trying to redirect my payment into her own account and then call me like I'd failed her, so I'd pay twice. Once into her pocket, once into the landlord's while she kept her hands clean and her face innocent. Victor watched my expression change and said quietly, Do you know this person? Yes, I said. She's my sister. Victor's eyebrows rose a fraction. So this is an internal family issue? No, I corrected, calm. This is fraud using a family relationship. Victor didn't argue. He just nodded once like the difference mattered to him too. Did she come in here? I asked. Victor clicked another tab. The request was submitted from our office kiosk, Crady's, he said. Front desk area, not from your home login. My skin went cold. So she stood in this office and did it. Victor's voice stayed steady. Yes, yesterday afternoon. I sat back, forcing my shoulders to loosen. Show me what she submitted, I said. Victor hesitated a beat. Policy, I cautioned, then said, I can show you the attachments. I can't give you copies without a formal dispute, but you can view them. He opened the file list. There were 3 attachments. One was a scanned authorization letter, typed in clean font, saying I authorized Kelsey to manage rent payments and receive verification mail on my behalf. It had a signature at the bottom that looked like my name, in the way my name looks when someone has only seen it on a screen. The second attachment was a photo of my driver's license. Not a scan. A photo. The edges were slightly warped. A glare line ran across the top like it had been photographed under a kitchen light. I felt my throat tighten. Because I remembered yesterday's hug, the way she'd leaned in too close, The way her hand had brushed my bag. Casual, practiced. Victor zoomed in on the file metadata. This was captured on a phone, he said. And his tone told me he'd seen this before. Then uploaded to our kiosk. I kept my voice low. The third? Victor clicked. A photo of a check? My check. The one I used to pay the rent every month. Except the routing number at the bottom had been edited. Slightly blurred in one spot, like someone had masked and replaced it. Not well enough to fool a bank. Well enough to fool a distracted property clerk. Victor stared at it for a long second, then looked up at me. This is why your system flagged the change, he said. It didn't match your normal pattern. And the destination was a personal account. I nodded once. My face stayed neutral, but I could feel heat behind my eyes. Not tears. Anger. The cold kind. Victor leaned back and said, "And do you want us to treat this as an unauthorized access attempt?" "Yes," I answered immediately. He didn't ask if I was sure. He just pulled a form out of a drawer and slid it across the desk. "Sign here," he said. "This freezes all account changes until you verify in person. It also triggers our internal incident review." I signed. My pen didn't shake. Victor typed while I signed, then clicked something that made a small chime sound. Soft, administrative, final. "There," he said. "No one can change anything on this resident account without you physically present with ID." I exhaled slowly. "Can you reverse the routing update request?" I asked. "It never completed," Victor said. It was pending verification. We've now voided it. Your rent can be paid through the normal channel today." "Good," I said. Victor stared at the screen again. I then added, "There's another detail you should see." My stomach tightened. "What?" He opened a notes field labeled Office Interaction. It had been typed by someone at the front desk yesterday. Resident's sister insisted leaseholder was unstable and requested to be added as authorized payer. Claimed leaseholder, agreed, but panicked. Requested mail verification to alternate address. My jaw tightened. There it was again. Unstable. Used like a master key to get people to stop asking questions. Victor looked at me carefully. "Did you agree?" he asked. "No," I said. "She wasn't invited to my life yesterday. She was hunting for a lover." Victor nodded once. "I'm going to pull lobby footage," he said. "If corporate asks, we'll have it." I slid my folder under my arm and thanked him without warmth. He'd done his job. That was all I needed. As I walked out, my phone buzzed. "Kelsey." I let it ring. Then another buzz. A text. "Do you really want to do this the hard way?" I didn't respond. I walked straight back to my car and drove to the mailbox store. It was a beige strip mall place with a neon mail sign in the window and a bell that rang when you opened the door. Inside smelled like cardboard and ink. Shelves lined with taped-up boxes. A counter covered in laminated price lists. A security camera above the register blinked steadily. I stepped up and said, "Hi. I need to ask about a private mailbox being used to intercept verification mail tied to my name." The clerk, a woman with tired eyes and a tight bun, didn't flinch, but her face closed slightly. "We can't give out mailbox information," she said automatically. I'm not asking for private details," I replied, controlled. "I'm asking if you've received certified mail addressed to Elena Moreno at a PMB number registered here." Her eyes flicked to a stack of envelopes behind the counter. Then back to me. "Do you have ID?" she asked. I handed it over. She looked at it, then glanced at a computer screen, fingers moving fast. What PNB number?" I pulled out the printout Victor had allowed me to photograph. Just the verification address line, nothing else. I slid it toward her. She typed, paused, and her expression changed. Not shocked. Worse. Careful. "We have an active mailbox under that PNB," she said. "But it's not under your name." "I know." I said quietly. Who is it under? She shook her head. I can't tell you that. I didn't argue with policy. I argued with reality. Is there mail addressed to me that was delivered here? I asked. She hesitated. There was, she admitted. A letter. It was picked up. By who? I asked. I can't. Then show me the pickup log, I said, and kept my voice calm. This is identity misuse. There will be a report. I'd rather you be the person who helped the record than the person who didn't. The clerk swallowed and looked toward a door behind the counter. One moment, she said. A man came out. Older, manager energy, sleeves rolled up. He introduced himself as Aaron. He listened without interrupting. Then he nodded once and said, We don't disclose mailbox holders, but we do keep pickup signatures for certified items. He opened a drawer and pulled out a clipboard. If there's mail addressed to you that was delivered here, and it was signed for, we can at least show you the signature, he said. That's as far as we go without law enforcement. I nodded. That's enough. Aaron flipped through pages, stopped, and turned the clipboard toward me. There was a line item from yesterday afternoon. A certified envelope. Recipient, Elena Moreno. Signed for by K. Moreno Lane. My sister's new signature. The one she'd probably practiced for her marriage certificate. Smooth, confident, like she could sign her way into any door. I stared at it until my eyes burned. Aaron said quietly, If you file a report, we can provide footage for the pickup window. I nodded once. I will. As I slid my ID back into my wallet, Aaron added, There was another envelope tied to that PMB, not from the property office. My stomach tightened. From where? He glanced at the line item again and said, A county probate court. My skin went cold. Because if she was intercepting probate mail, this wasn't just about rent. This was about inheritance. And suddenly the wedding photos in the group chat made sense in a way that made me feel sick. Because she didn't exclude me to punish me. She excluded me so she could move around the family narrative while she quietly rerouted legal paperwork behind my back. I didn't drive home after the mailbox store. I drove downtown, parked 2 blocks from the county building, and walked into the probate courthouse with my folder tucked under my arm like a shield. The lobby smelled like old paper and metal detectors. Shoes squeaked on tie. A deputy nodded at me without interest. Overhead, the fluorescent lights made everyone look slightly guilty. Then I found the probate clerk window and waited behind a man arguing about a deed, and a woman clutching a stack of forms like they were keeping her alive. When it was my turn, I slid my ID into the glass and kept my voice calm. I need to ask about certified mail addressed to me that was sent from this office, I said. It was delivered to a private mailbox I don't own. The clerk, late 50s, hair pulled back tight, eyes sharp from a lifetime of seeing people lie, didn't react emotionally. She just asked, Name? Elena Moreno, I said. She typed, clicked, and stared at her screen a beat too long. Then she asked, Are you the executor? Yes, I replied. That word changed her posture. Not friendlier, more careful. Which estate? She asked. I gave her my grandfather's name. Her fingers moved again. The printer behind her hummed once, and then she leaned closer to her monitor, eyes narrowing. Okay, she said slowly. I see a note. My stomach tightened. What note? She didn't answer yet. She clicked into another tab and typed something that made the keys sound too loud in the quiet. Then she looked up at me through the glass. This file has a mail hold, she said. Meaning, correspondence is not to be redirected or released to anyone except the executor, in person, with identification. A cold line ran down my spine. A mail hold? I repeated. Yes, she said. It was placed because someone tried to change the correspondence address last week. I kept my face neutral. To a private mailbox, I said. The clerk's eyes flicked once, and that tiny movement told me I'd guessed right. She turned her monitor slightly, not all the way, just enough that I could see the header of a form on the screen. Request to update mailing address, estate correspondence. The new address line was a PMB, the same mailbox store. The clerk said, that request was denied. My mouth went dry. Who submitted it? She tapped the screen with her pen. It's logged under an interested party, she said. Kelsey Moreno Lane. My sister's married name looked wrong in that courthouse font. Too clean for what she was doing with it. I stayed still, hands visible on the counter ledge. Was certified mail sent to me? I asked. The clerk clicked again. Yes, she said. 2 items. One was a notice about a petition. The other was a hearing schedule. My stomach tightened. What petition? She looked at me like she was about to say something she'd learned to say without pity. Petition to remove executor, she said. For a moment the courthouse sounds faded. My ears filled with a low rush like my body was trying to flood itself with adrenaline, and I wasn't letting it. On what grounds? I asked. The clerk's lips pressed together. Alleged mismanagement, she said. Alleged failure to distribute assets. Alleged financial exploitation. The words hit harder than the wedding photos ever could, because they weren't meant to hurt my feelings. They were meant to trigger the system. I kept my voice even. May I see the petition? You can request copies, she said. As the executor, you're entitled. But I will tell you now, there are attachments. Of course there are, I murmured mostly to myself. She slid a form under the glass. I filled it out with a pen chained to the counter, my handwriting steady. When I signed, I noticed the sign taped to the window. All requests logged. False statement subject to penalty. Kelsey never cared about penalties, she cared about leverage. The clerk took my form, then disappeared into a back room. The minutes stretched. I stared at the seal on the glass and listened to the soft thud of stamps hitting paper somewhere behind the wall. When she returned, she set a stapled packet on the counter and slid it under the slot. The first page had a bold header and a case number. The paper felt heavier than it should have, like it carried intent. I read the first paragraph. Kelsey claimed I had controlled Grandpa's money and withheld distributions out of spite. She claimed I used my position as executor to punish my siblings. She claimed I was unstable and vindictive, and that my grandfather had been confused when he structured the inheritance the way he did. Unstable. There it was again, dressed up in legal language. I flipped to the attachment list. My breath caught just once. She hadn't attached real proof. She'd attached curated scenes, screenshots of family texts taken out of context, a photo of me in the hospital waiting room from the near Grandpa fell, like being present was suspicious. A copy of the lease for her apartment, with my name on it, highlighted, as if paying her rent was evidence that I was controlling her housing. She'd turned my support into a crime. The clerk watched my face without expression. There's also a request for temporary orders, she said. I looked up. What temporary orders? She tapped the top of the next page with her pen. To freeze estate distributions, she said. To require you to appear. And to direct all notices to an alternate address pending review. My throat tightened. The P.O. box. The clerk nodded. Denied, she said. Because of the mail hold. I exhaled slowly. So the court already knew someone was trying to intercept mail? Yes, she said, and for the first time her tone carried the faintest edge of irritation on my behalf. People try it more than you'd think. I flipped to the last page. That's where Kelsey had signed under penalty of perjury, with the same smooth married signature I'd just seen on the mailbox pickup log. But what made my stomach drop wasn't the signature, it was the listed contact phone number. Because she didn't list hers, she listed my mother's. The same woman who'd smiled through the wedding photos and called me controlling since I was old enough to say no. I looked up at the clerk. The hearing notice, I said. When is it? She pulled another sheet from her stack and slid it forward. It was scheduled for the following week. Early morning. mandatory appearance. And at the bottom, in small print, was a line that made my skin go cold. Failure to appear may result in temporary suspension of executor authority pending review. My sister wasn't just trying to embarrass me. She was trying to take the keys to the entire estate. I gathered the papers carefully like they could cut me if I moved too fast. I need the filing metadata, I said. The time it was submitted and from where? The clerk nodded once, clicked again and printed a single page. She slid it under the glass. Submitted. Yesterday, 5:22 p.m. method. Electronic filing kiosk location. County Site Service Terminal, yesterday. While the group chat was exploding with wedding photos. While my sister's new last name was getting hearts and congratulations. While I was sitting alone in my kitchen, watching everyone celebrate a party I'd paid for in ways they'd never admit. Kelsey had been at the courthouse kiosk, filing a petition to remove me as executor. And then she called me the next week pretending it was about rent. She wanted two things at once: money and narrative. I walked out of the courthouse with the packet in my hands and the weight of it in my ribs. Outside, the sky looked too bright for what I'd just read. Cars moved. People laughed. A street vendor sold hot dogs like the world wasn't built on paperwork and timing. I sat in my car and opened my phone. I didn't call Kelsey. I called an estate attorney whose number I'd kept in my contacts since Grandpa died, like a fire extinguisher you hope you never need. A receptionist answered, and I kept my voice steady. I need an emergency consult today, I said. There's a petition to remove me as executor, and there's evidence someone is intercepting probate mail. She didn't ask why, she asked for the case number. That alone told me this wasn't rare. When the attorney finally came on the line, his voice was calm, measured. Ms. Moreno, he said, tell me the shortest version. So I did. The wedding, the rent call, the portal lot, the mailbox signature, the petition, the mail hold. There was a pause on the other end, then a quiet inhale. She filed yesterday? He asked. Yes, I said. And she used an alternate address request? He asked. Yes. Then we respond today, he said. We file a notice of fraud attempt regarding service and mail interception. We request sanctions, and we request that all future notices require in-person verification for you only. My grip tightened on the steering wheel. Can we stop the hearing? We can't stop it, he said. But we can change what the judge walks into. I stared out at the courthouse doors. People coming and going like none of this mattered. What do I need to do right now? I asked. Bring me everything, he said. The property portal logs, the mailbox pickup signature, and that petition packet. I have it, I said. Good, he replied. And Elena, do not pay anything else for your sister, not rent, and not utilities. Nothing. She's building a story where we're the controller. We're going to flip that story into what it really is. Attempted financial routing fraud and attempted interference with probate. I swallowed, keeping my breathing slow. There's one more thing, I said. What? He asked. My sister signed under penalty of perjury, I said. And she listed my mother's phone number as the contact. The attorney went quiet for a beat, then said, That's coordination. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. Because my phone lit up again. Another text from Kelsey. If you don't send the rent today, I'll tell everyone what you've been doing with Grandpa's money. I stared at the screen without blinking. Then I watched the typing bubble appear. And when the next message came through, my blood went colder than it had in the courthouse. Because she didn't ask for rent. She asked for the estate account login. I didn't respond to Kelsey's message. I took a screenshot, saved it to a folder labeled with the date, and forwarded it to my attorney. Then I drove straight to his office before my sister could turn the next lie into an official document. The building was downtown, quiet. The kind of place where people speak softly because the walls have heard too much. The receptionist didn't ask me to repeat myself this time. She recognized the urgency in my voice and walked me back immediately. My attorney, Simon Reeve, met me at his door, with his sleeves rolled up and a legal pad already open. Show me everything, he said. I laid it out in clean stacks on his desk. The portal audit log, Victor's notes, the mailbox pickup signature, the petition packet, the clerk's metadata printout. I slid my phone across with the screenshots of Kelsey's texts, time-stamped. Simon didn't react like a relative. He reacted like a person who knows what a judge needs to see. He read the petition first, jaw tightening in small increments. Then he flipped to the last page and tapped her signature line. She signed under penalty of perjury, he said quietly. Yes, I replied. And she listed my mother's phone number. He nodded once and wrote something down, then he pointed to the address change request page. This, he said, is attempted interference with service. Judges don't like when people try to hijack notice. I didn't sit down yet. I stayed standing because sitting felt like surrendering momentum. Simon looked up at me. Has she ever had access to the estate account? He asked. No, I said. I've never shared logins. She never needed them. Simon's eyes stayed steady. Then why is she asking for the estate account login now? I didn't answer right away because the answer wasn't about rent. It was about control. She wants to move money while I'm distracted, I said. And she wants to say it was an accident. Or that I approved it and panicked. Simon's pen paused. That phrase, he said. What phrase? I asked. He slid the property manager's note toward me, the one about my sister insisting I was unstable, that I agreed but panicked. That's a script, he said. People use it when they want to manufacture consent. My phone buzzed again on the edge of his desk. A new text. You don't get to play queen forever. Either give me the login or I'll show the court what you've been hiding. Simon didn't touch the phone. He just nodded at it. Good, he said. More coercion. Keep every message. My throat tightened. What do we file? I asked. Simon turned his legal pad so I could see his outline, written in tight, clean handwriting. Notice of fraud attempt regarding service motion to enforce mail hold and restrict alternate address requests, opposition to remove a petition with exhibits, request for sanctions for bad faith filing and perjury exposure, request for protective order, harassment and interference. He tapped the last line. Not a restraining order in the dramatic sense, he said. A court order that tells her to stop contacting you about estate access and stop attempting to intervene with third parties. The judge likes boundaries. I nodded once. Okay. Simon leaned back. Now tell me the one thing you haven't told me, he said. I frowned. What? The reason she chose now, he said. Wedding, then rent, then executor removal? That's not random. I took a slow breath. Because she thinks Grandpa's money is the only thing I'm good for, I said. She spent years calling me controlling while letting me pay her bills. She wants the inheritance without the accountability. The wedding was just her announcement. Simon's eyes didn't soften. They sharpened. Then we treat this like what it is, he said. A coordinated attempt to seize authority. He pulled a blank declaration form from a drawer and slid it toward me. Reply to file your statement today, he said. Clear timeline, 2 pages, no emotion, just facts. I started writing while he dictated structure. Dates, times, who said what, where I was, what log showed. He made me include the smallest details. How I discovered the rent routing change, where the verification letter was sent, who signed for it, where the courthouse kiosk filing was submitted. Every sentence was a nail. Halfway through, Simon's assistant knocked and stepped in holding a phone. Simon, she said quietly. The bag is on line 1. It's about the estate account. My skin went cold. Not panic. Something closer to a controlled fear. A warning bell. Simon took the call on speaker. This is Mary Ann Holt, senior manager at Harbor Ridge Bank, a woman's voice said, professional and clipped. I'm calling regarding the Moreno estate account. We need the executor to come in immediately with identification. Simon's gaze met mine. He didn't ask permission. He simply said, "We're here with Ms. Moreno." Yet what triggered the call? A brief pause. Then, "There was an attempted change request submitted this morning," Marianne said. "An individual presented paperwork claiming temporary authority over the estate account." My jaw tightened. "Who?" I asked before I could stop myself. Marianne's voice stayed careful. "I can't disclose names over speaker without verifying the account holder in person," she said. "But the request included allegations that the executor is withholding funds and is mentally unfit to manage distributions." Unfit. There it was again. Dressed up like concern. Simon leaned forward. "Ms. Holt," he said, "my client is the court-appointed executor. We have reason to believe there is an active attempt to interfere with service and access. We are on our way." "We'll be ready," Marianne replied. "Hi, please bring your letters of appointment." The call ended. Simon didn't waste a second. He grabbed my packet, snapped it into a binder clip and stood. "Now we go to the bank," he said. "Because she's trying to create a new set of proof while you're busy." The drive to Harbor Ridge Bank felt too normal for what it carried. Stoplights, pedestrians, a radio playing in another car. Simon reviewed my documents calmly in the passenger seat like we were heading to a routine meeting, not a battle over identity and money. Inside the bank the air was cool and smelled faintly of coffee. Polished counters, muted voices, the soft click of keyboards. A security guard watched us enter and nodded toward an office down the hall. Marianne Holt met us at the door. She was mid-50s, sharp suit, high expression, neutral in the way people get when they've already read something ugly. "Ms. Moreno," she said, shaking my hand once. "Thank you for coming quickly." She led us into her office and closed the door. On her desk sat a thin folder, already opened, and a printed copy of something that looked like a court filing. Marianne didn't sit immediately. "Before we proceed," she said, "I need to verify your identity and your executor status." I handed her my ID and my letters of appointment. She scanned them, compared my face, then nodded. "Okay," she said. "You were the executor on file." "Who came in?" I asked, keeping my voice flat. Marianne didn't answer yet. She turned her monitor so I could see the internal notes. "This morning," she said, "a woman arrived with a marriage certificate, a copy of your grandfather's death certificate, and a document labeled family authorization. She claimed she was an interested party and needed to assist because you were unstable." Simon's jaw tightened. "And you declined," he said. "We did not grant access," Marianne replied. "But she attempted to initiate a signer change request and demanded we freeze the account until the court removes you." My chest tightened. "Did she bring a court order?" Marianne's eyes narrowed. "She brought what she said was a temporary order," she said. "A printout. No seal, no clerk stamp, no judge signature." She slid the print out toward us. It was titled like it belonged in a courthouse. But it wasn't clean. The formatting was slightly off. The case number was missing a digit. And the signature line at the bottom was blank, just a typed name where a signature should be. And Simon's finger tapped the page once. "This is counterfeit," he said quietly. Marianne nodded. "That was our assessment," she said. "But there's more." She clicked into another tab and pulled up the bank's incident log. "When she was denied," she said, "she tried a different angle. She attempted to enroll in online access using your estate profile information. That triggered our fraud controls." My stomach turned. "From where?" Marianne's gaze held mine. "From the lobby kiosk," she said. "Here, in this branch." Simon leaned forward. "Do you have camera?" he asked. Marianne nodded and tapped her desk phone. "Security, I need the lobby feed from this morning, 10 to 10:30, she said. A minute later, a small video window opened on her screen. She scrubbed the timeline. The footage showed the lobby. Customers waiting. I'd tell her, laughing politely, the guard moving in slow loops. Then Kelsey stepped into frame. I recognized her immediately, even through the drain. Neat hair, bright posture, that confident walk, like she owned any room she entered. My mother followed a few steps behind her, clutching a folder. Kelsey approached the kiosk with purpose. My mother stood slightly off to the side, scanning the lobby like she was making sure someone saw them. Kelsey typed. Paused. Typed again. Then leaned closer to the screen and pulled out her phone, angling it as if she was reading a code or photographing instructions. Marianne paused the video and zoomed. Kelsey's hand was holding a paper with a printed password reset phrase at the top. A phrase I'd never created. Marianne's voice stayed calm, but her eyes hardened. They tried to catch your online access, she said. And when it failed, they demanded we place a freeze. Simon looked at me. This is coordinated, he said. I didn't answer because my phone vibrated again in my pocket like a pulse. I pulled it out and saw a new message from Kelsey. It wasn't a threat this time. It was a screenshot. A confirmation page from the courthouse e-filing kiosk, time-stamped, showing an emergency motion had just been submitted. And underneath it, in her message, she wrote, "You're not the executor anymore. Check the account in an hour." I didn't feel angry when I read Kelsey's message. I felt a small, controlled fear, subtle, sharp, because she wasn't bluffing about trying. She was bluffing about succeeding. Marianne Holt watched me read it, then said, "Hi, that screenshot doesn't mean there's an order." Simon leaned closer. "Ma'am," he said, "can you confirm whether any court order has been served to this branch?" Marianne's expression stayed neutral, but her eyes hardened. "No order has been served," she said. "No seal. No judge signature. No clerk stamp. And even if an emergency motion was filed, a filing is not authority." I exhaled slowly. Marianne continued. "However, because your estate account is now a target, I'm placing a protective restriction on it. No outgoing transfers, no new online enrollment, and no signer changes unless you appear in person with identification. That includes anyone claiming to be family." She clicked something on her screen, and the system made a soft chime that felt like a vault door shutting. Kelsey wanted panic. What she got was procedure. Simon didn't let the moment breathe. He turned to me. "We verify the docket now," he said. He called the probate clerk's office while Marianne printed a summary of the incident log. Attempted signer change request, counterfeit temporary order presented, failed online enrollment attempt, and the exact timestamps. Marianne added one more page. Camera stills pulled from the lobby feed. Time-coded, showing Kelsey at the kiosk with my mother hovering behind her. While Simon spoke into the phone, I watched that still image and felt something settle in my chest. They weren't hiding anymore. They were moving in daylight because they assumed I wouldn't move faster than their confidence. Simon listened, asked for the case number, then asked for the filing details. His voice stayed calm, but I could hear the steel in it now. And he ended the call and looked at me. "She did file an emergency motion," he said. "This morning. Self-service termini. No order granted. No hearing yet. But she requested temporary suspension of your authority pending review." My jaw tightened. "And she's telling me I'm not executor anymore." Simon nodded once. "Which is coercion," he said. "And if she presented a counterfeit order to the bank, that's a separate problem. We go to court." Marianne added, "We'll cooperate with law enforcement if requested," in the same tone she would use to describe the weather. "Because this is fraud behavior." On the drive, Simon didn't try to comfort me. He built the record. He had me forward Kelsey's "check the account in an hour" message to an evidence email address in his firm. He had me write a short timeline on my phone. Wedding exclusion, our rent call, portal routing attempt, mailbox pickup signature, executor removal petition, bank attempt with counterfeit order, emergency motion screenshot. Every line ended with a time. At the courthouse, we moved through security and into the probate clerk's line again. The same fluorescent buzz. The same seal behind glass. The same clerk with the tight hair and sharp eyes. Simon slid his bar card and our filings into the window. We need an emergency response filed today, he said. And we need the e-filing metadata and service attempts preserved. The clerk's eyes flicked over the documents and narrowed. This is the Moreno estate, she said. Yes, I replied. She typed, clicked, and her posture shifted. More careful, more serious. The emergency motion is in the queue, she said. No order has been issued. Simon's voice stayed polite. We need that in writing, he said. The clerk printed a docket snapshot and slid it onto the glass. It showed the motion as pending, nothing more. Then she added, there is something else. My stomach tightened. What? She turned her monitor slightly. She requested that notices be sent to a private mailbox again, she said. Denied again. The hold is still active. I felt a bitter, quiet satisfaction. The system remembered, even if my family pretended not to. Simon nodded once. Now the metadata, he said. The clerk clicked into a detail view and printed another page. It listed the submission time, the terminal location, and the user credentials used to file at the self-service kiosk. And there, in plain ink, was Kelsey's name. Not interested party. Not family member. Her actual account. Her choice. Simon tapped the page once. That's what the judge needs, he said. We filed our response and a request for sanctions, attaching everything. The property portal audit log, the mailbox store pickup signature, the property manager's note about me being unstable, the bank incident summary, the lobby camera stills, the text messages demanding access and claiming I'd been removed. The clerk stamped the top page with a heavy, final thud and slid it back. Hearing, she said, glancing at her screen, they'll bring you in this afternoon. 2 hours later, we stood in a hallway outside a courtroom, with faded blue carpet and old wooden benches. My hands stayed relaxed at my sides. I kept my breathing slow. My fear was still there but small, contained, because it had become something I could name. Then Kelsey appeared at the end of the hallway. Not alone. And my mother walked beside her with a folder pressed to her chest like a weapon. Kelsey wore the same bright, clean confidence she'd worn in those wedding photos, as if celebration and sabotage belonged in the same outfit. She saw me and smirked. Special people only, she murmured, just loud enough to reach me. I didn't react. I looked at Simon instead. Do you see how calm she is? I asked quietly. Simon nodded once. People who think they're untouchable always are, he said. The bailiff opened the courtroom door and called our case. Inside, the judge didn't smile. He didn't ask how everyone was doing. He looked down at the filings, then up at me, then at Kelsey. Ms. Moreno, he said to me, you are the current executor on record. Kelsey's chin lifted like she could posture a court file. The judge turned to Kelsey. Ms. I. Moreno Lane, he said. You filed a petition to remove the executor, and an emergency motion. You also requested alternate service to a private mailbox that is not the executor's address. Explain. Kelsey's voice came out sweet. Practiced. Your Honor. Elma is controlling, she said. She's been withholding money. She gets emotional. I just want what Grandpa intended. Simon didn't stand yet. He let Kelsey spend her confidence. The judge asked, do you have evidence of mismanagement? Kelsey held up her folder. Yes, she said. Messages. Proof she pays my rent so she can control me. Proof she isolated Grandpa. I watched her hold up my house like it was a crime. Then Simon stood. Your Honor, he said, calm. We have objective records that show the petitioner is not seeking accountability. She is seeking access. He handed up our exhibits. The judge flipped through them without expression. Then his eyes paused on the bank incident summary, and the camera still. He looked up. What is this counterfeit order? Kelsey's face flickered. I don't know what that is, she said quickly. I didn't. Simon's voice stayed flat. She presented a printout labeled as a temporary order to freeze the estate account, he said. No seal. No clerk stamp. No judge signature. The bank flagged it as a counterfeit. The branch preserved lobby footage. The judge's gaze sharpened. He turned to Kelsey. Did you go to the bank this morning? Kelsey hesitated half a beat. I went to ask questions, she said. The judge's voice dropped colder. Did you attempt to change signer authority on the estate account? Kelsey's eyes darted to my mother. My mother lifted her chin like she could stare a judge into obedience. Kelsey said, I was trying to protect the money. Simon slid the printed e-filing metadata forward. And this is the emergency motion submission detail, he said. Self-service terminal. Account credentials used. Name on the submission. And here are the text messages sent to Ms. Moreno stating she was no longer executor, and to check the account in an hour. The judge read the text exhibit for a long second. His face didn't change, but the room did. The air got heavier. Then the judge asked one question that made Kelsey's confidence finally start to break. Why did you exclude the executor from your wedding and then contact her for rent a week later? He asked. Kelsey blinked, thrown off. That's not relevant. It is if the court is determining motive, the judge said, voice firm. Answer. Kelsey's mouth opened, then closed. Because the truth was ugly in a courtroom. Because the truth was that she liked humiliating me, but she liked my money more. Simon spoke before she could rebuild her mask. Your Honor, the petitioner attempted to reroute rent payments to her personal account using forged authorization and intercepted mail. He said, we have the property portal audit log, the property manager's incident note, and the mailbox pickup signature. This is a pattern of interference and attempted redirection. The judge leaned back slightly and looked at Kelsey the way people look at a lock that's been tampered with. I'm denying the emergency motion, he said. I'm denying the request for temporary suspension. The executor remains in place. Kelsey's face tightened. The judge continued. I'm also issuing an order that all estate correspondence remains restricted to the executor's verified address, with no alternate address changes without a court hearing. My chest loosened by a fraction. Then he looked down again and said the sentence that made my mother's face drain of color. This filing appears to be in bad faith, he said. I am setting a show cause hearing for sanctions. And I am referring the matter to the district attorney for a review of potential perjury and forgery related to the bank incident. Kelsey's breath hitched. My mother opened her mouth, outraged, ready to perform. And the judge shut it down without looking at her. Ma'am, he said to my mother, you are not a party, do not speak. Silence. The bailiff's posture shifted closer to Kelsey and my mother, not touching them, just present in a way that said the court was done being entertained. When we walked out, Kelsey hissed my name like it was a curse. I didn't look at her. I looked at the stamped order in Simon's hand. Because paper is louder than family. Outside the courthouse, 2 detectives from financial crimes met us, alerted by the bank's report and the court's referral. They took statements, took copies, and asked to see the bank footage and mailbox store logs. Kelsey tried to walk past them like she didn't recognize consequence. One of the detectives stepped in front of her and said, Ms. Moreno Lane, we need to speak with you about a counterfeit court document presented to a bank and attempted unauthorized access to an estate account. Kelsey's face went very still. Now my mother grabbed her arm instinctively, and for the first time all day, my mother looked afraid. Not of me. Of the record. 3 weeks later, the district attorney filed charges against Kelsey for attempted fraud and forgery tied to the counterfeit order and the estate account access attempt, along with additional counts connected to intercepted mail and the attempted rent reroute. She didn't get to call it family drama in front of a judge. She got probation conditions, restitution, and a no-contact order that meant she couldn't text me for money ever again without it becoming another violation. My mother wasn't charged as heavily, but she was named in the reports as an involved witness, and the court granted my request to restrict her from contacting me about the estate. And I paid the rent one final time directly to the property manager through the verified channel. Then I removed myself from the lease and let my sister learn what special people only feels like when the bills arrive and no one is quietly covering them. If your own sister humiliated you in public and then demanded money like it was automatic, would you cut her off immediately? Or would you wait until you had enough proof to end it in one clean move? Tell me in the comments. If you want more stories like this, hit like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.